Part 22. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 211. Chapter 211 Living in the Su Family. Xuanhuan glanced at the head of the Su family, pretending not to notice that he was pretending to be confused. Head of the family, elders, the great elder practices evil arts and carves soul-absorbing patterns on his tattoos. He poisoned my mother back then and wanted to absorb my mother's spiritual power to increase her cultivation. Because my mother exhausted her spiritual power while she was pregnant with me. It didn't work. Over the years, he planned to absorb my spiritual power, colluded with the 13th elder of the Long family to attack me tonight, and also asked Uge to practice evil skills, using Uge to lure me out, and let him blow himself up to kill me. Miss Yu is going to Long's house, because she arrived too late. She plans to rest in the mountains for one night, and then go to Long's house tomorrow morning, which saved my life. Xuanhuan briefly explained the matter, but did not say how Xianxia saved his life. Even if he didn't say it, with the 13 elders of the Long family present, everyone present would know how Xianxia saved him. It was a little shocked in her heart. But for the first time, Xianxia came to 9 families to live in. She hasn't reached the Long family. How did she learn to control the power of soul? Xuanhuan said that the great elder used Uge to lure him out, which made the Su family head speechless. It was obviously you who led the great elder and the others here. Based on his understanding of the great elder would not risk leaving unless he had to. The Su family attacked Xuanhuan. After all, only in the Su family was the great elder's world, and it would be easier for him to do what he wanted. But these thoughts are just thoughts. He only dares to think about them in his heart and will never speak them out. The great elder is the person with the highest cultivation level in their Su family, and he has made him look like this. Now as long as Xuanhuan doesn't take action against the Su family, he will do whatever he says, and the Su family head will never refute it. Xianxia was also speechless. Xuanhuan's words were too exaggerated. She only helped him a little, and it was not really about saving his life. Without her intervention, Xuanhuan would only be slightly injured at most, but it would not endanger his life. However, she also knew that Xuanhuan never did useless things. Since they said so, there must be his intention. She did not correct them and calmly became Xuanhuan's savior. Thank you so much, Miss Yu, for saving Xuanhuan. The head of the Su family quickly thanked Xianxia. Now he knows who Xianxia is. There is no one named Yuan in their 9 families. Only the young master of the Long family, Long Moran, has a husband named Yuan. They have a daughter named Xianxia, which has recently made the Long family panic. The one in front of me should be the girl in front of me. Xianxia responded generously, it takes a little effort. The head of the Su family looked at Xianxia and said secretly, no wonder the Long family is at a loss. Not to mention her cultivation level, she is already at the 7th level of the senior level at such a young age. Just looking at her temperament, there is no trace of her. No less elegant than her mother back then, and even at the same age, Xianxia was calmer and calmer than her mother. Xuanhuan did not give the Su family master more time to look at Xianxia. Master, I have invited Miss Yu to stay at the Su family tonight. The head of the Su family said quickly, that's right. I'll have someone arrange the guest room right now. In fact, the 9 families rarely have guests, so they don't have many guest rooms. However, there are still unused yards, and it doesn't take much trouble to clean them up. There's no need to go to such trouble. We don't have time to rest tonight, so just let Miss Yu live in my yard. Xuanhuan refused the Su family leader's arrangement. After finishing the words, he shouted to the side, Changfeng. Changfeng's figure immediately appeared in front of him and said respectfully, Master. Have someone clear out a room in my yard for Miss Yu to live in, have the kitchen prepare water for dinner and bathing, and take good care of Miss Nu, Zhizhong ordered. Yes. Chang Feng responded and made an invitation gesture to Yan Xiangluo. Miss Yan, please come this way. Yan Xiangluo nodded to the head of the Su family and Jiju and left with Chang Feng. The two of them flew down in the air. The Su family below were surprised when they saw Yan Xiangluo. Why did a woman in a red dress appear? After seeing her appearance clearly, they were even more surprised. Why didn't they know that there was such a beautiful woman among the 9 families? Which one is so well hidden? Chang Feng ignored the other members of the Su family and led the way, taking Ruanxiang into Zhekong's courtyard of the Su family. In fact, he was very excited. Oh my god, didn't the master go to deal with the great elders matter? Why did you kidnap the girl back? Master, now he's enlightened and knows how to coax a girl. He's made great progress. It's no wonder Chang Feng was surprised. When Yu Ji appeared, Zhizhong told Chang Feng and Jin Yutang not to take action and just wait. After all, he is resisting by himself. Chang Feng and Jin Yutang are natives of the Su family. If they help him deal with the elder, the Su family will feel uncomfortable and feel that they have betrayed the Su family. In their hearts, Chang Feng and Jin Yutang should be closer to them. Although he will not come here after avenging his mother this time, Chang Feng and the others will naturally not come back, but he does not want the Su family to misunderstand Chang Feng and the others. The most taboo thing about cultivation is to have knots in your heart, and words are the most poignant. He would not give the Su family the chance to hinder Chang Feng and his friends from their cultivation path. Yan Xiangluo didn't know that Chang Feng had been thinking so much in such a short time, let alone Zhizhong's plan. At this time, she was looking at Zhizhong's yard. It couldn't be simpler, it was completely different from the regent of the Tianshan Empire. Chang Feng saw her appraising eyes and immediately explained, "My master only comes to live in this courtyard once a year, and the time he stays here is not long, so he does not arrange it very carefully. Only this time he stays here for the longest time. I also added in my heart that after this time, I will never come again." Yan Xiangluo didn't answer. There were so many things going on in the Tianshan Empire, so how could Zhizhong have time to stay here for a long time? Besides, judging from Zhizhong's attitude towards the Su family, and what he just said, his mother died in the hands of the Su family's eldest elder. Zhizhong obviously has no feelings for the Su family, let alone talk about belonging. Which room should I stay in? Since she decided to stay here for one night, Yan Xiangluo didn't want to wrong herself. Chang Feng immediately pointed to a room. How about this one? The room Chang Feng pointed to was the most spacious and largest room except Zhizhong's room, and it was also the one closest to Zhizhong's room. Although Zhizhong will not come back to stay tonight, Yan Xiangluo is the girl that the master likes, and Chang Feng does not dare to neglect her at all. If it weren't for avoiding suspicion, he thought it would be best to live directly in the master's room. Okay, this is someone else's place, and it doesn't matter which room she lives in. Miss Yu, please go sit in the main hall for a while. I will arrange for someone to clean up. Chang Feng invited Xiangluo to sit down in the main hall and ask someone to bring the best tea. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 212. Chapter 212 Not attractive. Then go out and arrange for people to clean up the room, and at the same time arrange for people in the kitchen to cook dinner and heat hot water. Although the people in Zhizhong's courtyard did not have a maid, they worked very quickly. After a quarter of an hour, the room was tidied up, and the bathing water was boiled and delivered to the room. Yan Xiangluo was not polite. After bathing and changing clothes, she felt completely comfortable. At this time, dinner was also prepared. Although it was in a hurry, it was still very rich. The ingredients used were all spiritual food. The spiritual rice and vegetables were better than what she had eaten in the sect, and the spiritual energy was much better. Obviously, he is well prepared at ordinary times. This is Xuanhuan's ordinary life. After having a full meal, Yan Xianglou rested. Chang Feng specially said something to let her rest at ease. The courtyard was theirs and no one would disturb her. The implication is to tell Xianglou that it is safe here so that she can sleep peacefully. Yuan Xianglou was the girl his master liked, and she would definitely be their mistress in the future. Chang Feng's tone showed the same respect as Xuanhuan. Yan Xianglou didn't pay attention to this, and she did sleep with peace of mind. However, the main reason why she could sleep with peace of mind was because of the presence of the sky. But before going to bed, Zhetian told her something. Master, the man you helped is the little boy who absorbed the power of the 5 elements in the 5 elements spiritual lake. Yan Xianglou was stunned and quickly figured out that Xuanhuan also had 5-line spiritual roots. Before, she had never thought that Xuanhuan had the blood of 9 families. Now that she knew it, it was not surprising that Xuanhuan had absorbed the 5-line spiritual roots. He is the one with the power of the 5 elements in the lake. Zhetian thought for a while and then said, Master, he is very cruel. The monsters in Wanghai Forest are all afraid of him. As soon as he comes, the monsters will hide, and even the spiritual beasts will not dare to breathe. Jishan means to remind the owner to be careful about Xuanhuan. It has sensed it and the owner has no defense against that man. Yan Xianglou responded, but she actually didn't care that Zhetian specifically emphasized that Xuanhuan was ruthless. She felt that given Xuanhuan's situation at the time, he wouldn't be alive now if he wasn't ruthless. That night, Yan Xianglou slept very comfortably, and Xuanhuan did not come back all night. The next morning, after Yan Xianglou got up, Xuanhuan came back as soon as he finished washing up. Chang Feng felt that his master had pinched him at the right time. If he hadn't known that Xuanhuan had indeed discussed the matter with the Su family master and the elders all night, he would have thought that his master had been paying attention to Yan Xianglou's movements. Miss, let's have breakfast together. After breakfast, I will accompany you to Long's house, Xuanhuan said naturally. Yan Xianglou nodded, the food here is delicious. Yan Xianglou's cooking skills are very good, but she feels that the spiritual rice and spiritual food here can be made delicious without any complicated cooking techniques. This has nothing to do with cooking skills. It is because the spiritual energy of rice and vegetables is too rich. The taste is already great. If you like it, I ask Chang Feng to prepare some more for you to take away. Think of it as thanking you for helping me last night, Xuanhuan said with a wink, fearing that she would find a reasonable reason for refusing. Okay, hearing what he said, Yan Xianglou was really not polite. It was just some spiritual rice and spiritual vegetables. No matter how strong the spiritual energy was, it could not be compared to the one who helped him. The two of them sat at the same table and had breakfast together. It was obviously the first time, but Chang Feng and Jin Yutang looked as if they had often sat together to eat like this. It was natural, like a couple who had been married for many years. The two of them looked at each other, and they looked more and more like a couple. It seemed that the girl was indeed the wife God had prepared for her master. Xuanhuan offered Yan Xianglou some food, and Yan Xianglou didn't refuse. The reason was actually very simple, that is, she liked to eat every dish. After breakfast, the two of them left Xuanhuan's yard together. Yan Xianglou was a little surprised when she saw the 13th elder of the Long family being carried by 2 guards outside. He is actually still alive? Are you taking him to Long's house? One night passed, and the 13th elder of the Long family looked much haggard, and his hand tendons and hamstrings were still broken. When the 13th elder saw Yan Xianglou, he kept looking at her, as if he wanted to speak but was hesitant to speak, but she was ignored by Yan Xianglou. She didn't know who he was, so she went to Long's house just to solve the problem of the box. Furthermore, she wanted to learn the power of soul control. After solving these 2 things, she felt that she would not come here again. After all, There was nothing attractive about this place for her. Yan Xianglou didn't know what Ji Zhong discussed with the Su family last night, but when they came outside the Su family's gate, Yan Xianglou saw the Su family's head and 3 elders, and it seemed that he was going to the Long family with them. But she didn't see the great elder, and she didn't ask Ji Zhong how to deal with the great elder. This was someone else's business and had nothing to do with her. Seeing Ji Zhong and Ruan Xianglou come out, the Su family looked at Ruan Xianglou curiously. They already knew Yan Xianglou's identity, so they all came to the gate to take a good look at her appearance. After seeing her, I felt a little proud. The Long family hadn't seen her yet, but the Su family had seen her first. It was dark last night, but now it is daytime. They can see it more clearly, and they all think that Yan Xianglou is even more beautiful than when they saw it last night. Yan Xianglou ignored the gazes of the Su family and walked calmly beside Ji Zhong. The Su family is not far from the Long family, just over the mountain where Ji Zhong fought with the elder yesterday. The group's cultivation level is not low, and they don't need any transportation. They just flew in the air and climbed over the mountain to the main gate of Long's house. Actually, the fighting on the mountain was so fierce last night, how could the Long family not know about it? It's just that it's a matter of the Su family. Each family has rules and cannot interfere with the internal affairs of other families. Therefore, the head of the Long family ordered that no one was allowed to go out to watch the fun. The head of the Long family never thought that what happened last night was related to the Long family. Not only was it related, but it was also a big one. Hence, I was not only surprised but also a little confused when I heard that the head of the Su family and several elders came to visit early in the morning. There are no major events between the families. The family head will not visit other families. Not only did the Su family head come in person, he also brought 3 elders with him. What happened? Is the eldest elder of the Su family here? The head of the Long family quickly asked the person who made the report. No, here are the 2nd elder, the 3rd elder, and the 4th elder. There is also Ji Zhong, the young master of the Su family. Next to him is a woman in a red dress. There are also 2 guards carrying a person. He is wearing very ordinary clothes. There is no seeing the face. I don't know who it is, the guard reported truthfully. Hearing that the eldest elder of the Su family did not come, the head of the Long family secretly breathed a sigh of relief. It was okay. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 213. Chapter 213, Excuse me for a few days. The eldest elder of the Su family is the most cultivated in the Su family and one of the 4 strongest among their 9 families. If he comes, things will be serious. The fact that the great elder didn't come meant that things weren't so bad that it couldn't be estimated. At this time, the head of the Long family had no idea that the eldest elder of the Su family would never come. Hurry up and tell the elders to welcome the guests, the head of the Long family ordered. Having said that, I went out first. We couldn't let Patriarch Su wait too long. We didn't know what was going on, so we couldn't be rude first. The fact that the Su family leader brought the 3 elders and Ji Zhong to the door made the Long family leader lose his cool. He ignored that the person who came to report was also a woman in a red dress. They didn't know that this woman in a red dress was the one they had been visiting. Waiting for the fragrance to fall. The head of the Long family acted very quickly, so Yan Xianglou and the others did not wait long before the head of the Long family opened the door with someone to greet them. To be precise, they welcomed the head of the Su family and the 3 elders of the Su family. As soon as the head of the Long family came out of the gate, he immediately saluted and said, "The head of the Su family and the elders are here. It would be disrespectful to welcome them from afar." As soon as he finished speaking, his peripheral vision caught sight of the most conspicuously dressed person in the crowd, Yan Xianglou, who was wearing a bright red dress. The woman in the red dress? The head of the Long family was stunned, looked up, and saw Yuan Xiangluo's peerless face. Although this was the first time we met, Yan Xiangluo's appearance is 70% like her father, Qinjai, and 30% like her mother, Long Moran. Anyone who knows them will think of them when they see Yan Xiangluo. You don't need to ask the head of the Long family to know who the woman in the red dress is in front of you. Why did Yan Xiangluo come with the Su family? Did they meet by chance? Seeing Patriarch Long's surprised look, Patriarch Su said, "Principal Long, I have two things to do today. One is to send Miss Yu to the Long family. Miss Yu saved our Xuanhuan family last night. I cannot thank you enough for your kindness. Zhekong and Miss Yu have a good relationship with each other before, so they stayed with her for one night and came together this morning." The head of the Su family understood what Ji Zheshong meant when Ji Zheshong stayed with Ruan Xiangluo last night. Ji Zheshong wanted to support Ruan Xiangluo. Based on his understanding of Ji Zheshong, even if he wanted to support Yan Xiangluo, he would not use the people and power of the Su family. In addition, he said very straightforwardly last night that he would not come to the Su family again in the future. This shows that even if he supports Yan Xiangluo, he will only come forward on his own. The head of the Su family said this just to betray Ji Zheshong. The head of the Long family did not think so after hearing what the head of the Su family said. They had always had news about Yu Xiangluo. Ruan Xiangluo absorbed the power of the 5 elements in the 5 elements spirit lake. Now it seems that her cultivation level has reached the 7th level. When she came to the residence of the 9 families, she did not come directly to the Long family, but went to the Su family first. Should we first find someone to support her and tell them that she is not someone they can easily touch? It's no wonder that the head of the Long family thinks this way. Ji Zheshong originally had this purpose. How could the person he likes be bullied by others? If the Long family really wants to do something to the little girl, then let's see if they can stand up to him first. Means of revenge. Yan Xiangluo promised Ji Zheshong to send her to the Long family, and she also wanted to take advantage of the situation. She entered the Long family alone. She was not so arrogant that she could escape unscathed. If it weren't for Pangu space, she would never have come. Long family. Her father was already at the peak of the 9th level at the time, and he said that he might not be able to go back after coming. This shows that the Long family is not a simple family. Among the 9 families, the Long family should be the most dangerous family. The confidence of the Long family should be related to their ability to control souls passed down through their blood. After all, she had experienced the power of soul control last night. I didn't see it. Even if the elders of the Long family colluded with the elders of the Su family, the Su family would not dare to confront the Long family directly. The power of soul control is hard to guard against. If you are not a practitioner of this technique, unless the power of soul control is used on you, you will not be able to sense it. As the head of the Long family, even if his talent for soul control is not the strongest, it is certainly not bad at all. Yan Xiangluo looked at Patriarch Long indifferently. That indifferent attitude made Patriarch Long instantly think of Yuan Qinjai, the person he hated so much but could do nothing about. As expected, he is the son of Yan Qinjai. His expression, temperament, attitude, and talent are all exactly the same and irritating. No longer calm in his heart, a gentle smile quickly appeared on the face of the head of the Long family. "You said, this girl, even though it is her first time to come home, why don't you just go home and trouble Su? It's not good to have too many families." The corners of Yan Xiangluo's mouth twitched. Those who didn't know what he said made him think that he loved his junior so much. "Master Long, don't think too much. I don't have any other ideas. It's just that I am more familiar with Ji Zheshong." Yu Xiangluo replied in a neither salty nor light, soft, or hard tone. "The implication is that I don't know you, So why are you trying to get close to me? Yu Xiongluo's words made the head of the Long family immediately realize that she might be more difficult to deal with than his father. After all, his father had some scruples at the beginning, because Long Moran was in their hands, and Zhu Chenjai had some scruples. At this time, Yan Xiongluo had nothing to handle, and she still had the Su family to support her. We will discuss our own family matters later. Xiongluo's yard has been prepared for you a long time ago. Your mother lived there back then. Go and rest first, the head of the Long family said to Xiongluo. The implication is also to tell the Su family that no matter what happens between us and you and Xiongluo, it is our Su family's own business. According to the rules of the 9 families, no family can interfere with the internal affairs of other families. The relationship between your Su family and you and Xiongluo, no matter how good you are, you can't break the rules. The head of the Long family has said this, and it is inconvenient for the head of the Su family to answer the question. Ji Zhozhong narrowed his eyes and said, I am very grateful to the head of the Long family for treating Xiongluo as his own child. It is the first time that Xiongluo comes to the residence of the 9 families, and there are no familiar people. Zhozhong is worried that she is not used to it, so, Zhekong will be disturbed for a few days. The head of the Long family paused and did not answer Ji Zhozhong's words. Instead, he looked at the head of the Su family. Master Su, what does this mean? The head of the Su family said with a smile, this is a matter between the 2 children. The head of the Long family also knows that Zhekong's surname is Ji, not Su. Although he has the blood of our Su family is just Zhekong's maternal family. It's Zhekong's business. Our Su family can't interfere. The head of the Long family is a little confused. What is going on? So many people from the Su family are not here to support Yan Xiongluo, so what are they here for? What does this mean? The young master of the Su family will no longer be Ji Zhozhong. What happened to the Su family? Why did they suddenly say that they will not let Ji Zhozhong be the young master? But looking at the expressions of the head of the Su family and the elders of the Su family, they still think highly of Ji Zhozhong, and if he is not mistaken, he is also a little afraid. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 214. Chapter 214 for protection. However, as long as the Su family does not support Yan Xiongluo, the Long family will not be afraid of Ji Zhozhong. No matter how powerful he is only one person. Will they let what happened 6 years ago happen again? Yuan Xiongluo's matter should be easier to handle. The head of the Long family immediately said, that's true. Let them handle the children's matters themselves. The head of the family, Su, and the elders, please come in. The head of the Long family understood that since the head of the Su family came with the elders, it was not mainly because of Xiongluo. There must be other important things. This matter cannot be discussed at the front door. People must be invited in to talk. Is in line with etiquette. Bring the person in. The head of the Su family waved his hand, and the guards carrying the 13th elder of the Long family came forward. The head of the Long family finally saw who was being carried. Master Su, what's going on? Why are the 13 elders of our Su family like this? Master Long's heart was beating loudly, and he had a bad feeling in his heart. The Su family leader looked at the Long family leader and said, the Long family leader, are you sure you want to talk about this at the gate? The head of the Long family came back to his senses and said quickly, please come in. The head of the Long family realized that since they dared to do the 13th elder like this and brought someone to the door, they were the right party. I am afraid that the 13th elder did something that violated the family rules. Thinking of the battle between the Su family on the hilltop last night, the head of the Long family guessed that the 13 elders were involved. He cast a hateful glance at the 13th elder. He was weak and courageous, but he actually dared to violate the clan rules set by the 9 families. It seemed that things would not be easy to get better today. But things have already happened. Escape is not an option and cannot be avoided. The Su family didn't bring the elder, because they didn't want to fight with the Long family, so things would be relatively easy to handle, but at worst the Long family would lose some profits. The group of people walked into the main gate of the Long family with their own thoughts and came to the main hall of the Long family. The head of the Long family said to the housekeeper, "Take Miss Xianglou to rest in her yard and take good care of her. Xianglou is coming home for the first time and is not familiar with the situation at home. Don't let anyone disturb her." Only the housekeeper can understand the meaning of the words, that is, don't let the unsighted people in the family provoke you, Xianglou. No one can go to see her before the matter is resolved, so as to avoid anyone leaking anything in front of her and letting things go trickier. The housekeeper responded immediately and prepared to take the incense down. Xuanhuan said, "This junior also wants to disturb us for a few days, so let's arrange our accommodation in Xiangluo's yard." The head of the Long family did not expect Xuanhuan and Yan Xiangluo to live in the same courtyard. He hesitated and said, "It's not very convenient." "It doesn't matter. We are an unmarried couple and we will get married sooner or later. We just live in the same courtyard, not in the same room. I don't trust her if she is far away from Xiangluo," Xuanhuan said calmly. Changfeng and Jin Yutang, who were following him, had a look of surprise in their eyes. The master was so awesome. They didn't know when they had resumed their engagement with Miss Yu. Before, they were worried that it would be difficult for the master to pursue his wife, but now it seems that they underestimated his ability and managed to woo his wife back without even noticing. Yan Xiangluo was stunned after hearing Xuanhuan's words. Wasn't the engagement terminated? When did they get engaged again? Why didn't she know about it? Just when she was confused, Xuanhuan's voice rang in her mind, "This is the only reason why I can stay with you in the Long family. If I am qualified to take action, just be patient and leave here." Yan Xiangluo immediately understood that Xuanhuan was trying to help her. She really didn't expect that Xuanhuan could help her to this extent. I have to say that having Xuanhuan made her feel a lot more at ease, so she did not expose Xuanhuan's words. The head of the Long family said unwillingly, "Isn't your engagement terminated? Everyone in the entire continent knows this." Xuanhuan said calmly, "That's to protect Xiangluo." A simple sentence clarified why they broke off their engagement. No one would doubt this reason. At the beginning, the Su family wanted to marry Qin Suiyu, the eldest daughter of the Qin family, to Xuanhuan. This was something that all 9 families knew. After all, everyone knew that in order to marry Xuanhuan, Qin Suiyu secretly took action against the women who appeared around Xuanhuan, and got rid of so many love rivals that she couldn't even count them. Xuanhuan used this method to protect Yan Xiangluo and it made sense. How else to explain that their relationship is still so good after they broke off their engagement? Yan Xiangluo didn't speak. It was obvious that Xuanhuan was the one to make the decision. The head of the Long family had no choice but to ask the housekeeper to take the 2 of them to Yan Xiangluo's yard. First solve the trouble caused by the 13 elders, send the head of the Su family and the elders of the Su family away, and then solve the problems in your own family. The head of the Long family felt that his head was too big. Coming to the yard prepared for Yan Xiangluo, looking at the yard that was much more exquisite than Xuanhuan's yard, Yan Xiangluo had no other emotions at all. Although the yard she lived in when she was a child was not big, she was very happy to have her parents with her. And it's not like she hasn't enjoyed better living conditions. One soul living in another life. Although his health is not good, his family is the Guo family. The family is famous for its medical skills. The family residence has antique decorations that are hundreds of years old. It covers a large area and is considered to be of extremely high taste among the Guo family. Because of her grandma's protection, she has lived in the center of the family since she was born. She is used to the prosperity and luxury, so she doesn't feel anything when going to Jizhong's regent's mansion, not to mention that it is far less luxurious than Jizhong's regent's mansion. So she had no emotion at all, and the housekeeper of the Long family knew it well after seeing her reaction. This was another master who was not easy to manipulate. I pray in my heart that what happened 6 years ago will not happen again. That time has already damaged the strength of the Long family. The Long family only seems to be okay, but only they themselves know what happened. Among the younger generations of the Long family, there are fewer and fewer people with the power to control souls, and those who have it are also getting less and less talented. Now we can't even find the next head of the family. I wonder if Yan Xianglou has the bloodline inherited from the Long family. If so, is she as talented as her mother? If she really has the same high bloodline inheritance talent as her mother, what should the Long family do? Obviously, Yan Xianglou will not stay in the Long family. It is good to see whether they can become enemies or not. After all, what the Long family did to her mother 10 years ago left no trace of affection. If Long Moran didn't have a husband who would risk his life for her, he might not have been able to escape. Yan Xianglou probably doesn't know what happened back then. It's not certain if she knows how to treat the Long family. Although he is just a housekeeper, he is also a member of the Long family. He knows a lot of secrets from the head of the family all year round. Can you not worry about it? End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 215. Chapter 215 Understanding the Long Family. Only those young people are still proud of being members of the Long family and feel superior to others. They have no idea that the biggest crisis in the history of the Long family has come. The housekeeper arranged for Yan Xianglou and Jizhong, and arranged the people to wait on them, and then hurried to the main hall to wait on them. The head of the Long family still needed him to do something. Yan Xianglou looked outside and asked Jizhong, "You don't need to be there. After all, the matter we are dealing with is about him. How can it be resolved if he, the client, is not present?" Jizhong shook his head. "I've done everything I want to do, and the rest is the matter of the Su family and the Long family." Yan Xianglou understood that Jizhong had revenge and complaint, and he had already finished his revenge. She didn't know what Jizhong, the eldest elder of the Su family, had done with him, but Jizhong, the 13th elder of the Long family, only disabled his hamstrings and hand tendons. This is saving face for the Su family and the Long family, allowing the Su family to confront the Long family, and making the Long family feel that the Su family has saved face for the Long family. The 13th elder left it to the Long family to handle it themselves. In this way, the Long family could not be merciful, otherwise they would still dare to trust the Su family. The fate of the 13th elder is probably worse than death at the hands of Jizhong. Yan Xianglou finally understood what Zetian said. Jizhong was indeed ruthless, and he decided the outcome of the 13 elders without making a move. "I'm afraid things can't be solved in a day or two. We may have to stay for a few days." "Which room do you live in?" Yan Xianglou asked Jizhong. Jizhong glanced at her and said, "You choose, I live across from you." The two of them were sitting in the main hall at this time. There was a room on each side of the main hall. Yan Xianglou pointed to the right side and said, "I live in this room." Jiju nodded and said he would live in the room on the left. Yan Xianglou stood up, opened the door, and looked inside. "Master Long said this courtyard was where my mother used to live." Jizhong's eyes flashed with sadness. "So what? Things have changed a long time ago." The yard where he lived in Su's house was still the yard where his mother had lived. When he came to live there was nothing in it except an empty house with simple furniture. Yu Xiangluo's hands paused and she understood what he meant. Although the yard is now well kept, it is not the same as when her mother lived there. At most, only some large pieces of furniture are still there. Thinking about it like this, she didn't have much expectations anymore, but she still walked into the room and took a look. At least the house was still occupied by her mother. As soon as she entered the door, there was a screen with a landscape painting embroidered on it. When she walked around the screen, she saw an antique bed. Yan Xiangluo's eyes paused. She was very familiar with this bed. It was now in her pangu space. The bed here is actually exactly the same as the bed her parents prepared for her in her room at Tianshan Empire's house. How could it be such a coincidence? She absolutely did not believe that her mother had built an identical bed for herself just to remember her. After all, it is for my mother and father to keep it as a souvenir, not for her. Suddenly, she remembered something. That bed was built for her by her parents when she was 3 years old. After she moved back home and set it up, her parents specially showed her how special this bed was. Her parents set up a hidden compartment on the bed and asked her not to tell anyone because she kept anything important in it for safety. At first, she was very novel and always put things in it. Later, as time went by, her parents gave her a storage ring, and she was no longer interested in the hidden compartment of the bed. The secret compartment of her bed has always been empty. Had she not seen an identical bed here, she would not have thought of it. Did her parents have a purpose in building that bed for her? Yan Xiangluo stared at the location of the hidden compartment on the bed, wondering, does this bed also have the same hidden compartment? Mom and Dad were just in case you would come here one day. What did you leave for yourself? Yan Xiangluo was extremely excited, but she didn't show it at all on her face. She walked in naturally, looked at the room generously, and then walked out. The person who was staring at her with his consciousness in the dark didn't notice anything wrong at all. Ji Zhong sat outside without moving. When he saw her coming out, he sent a message to her, do it according to your own ideas. Don't trust anyone in the Long family. Yu Xiangluo paused, knowing that this was a sound transmission through the air. Breaking the respected level can pass through the air. She has never had a chance to try it, and now it is an opportunity. His consciousness condensed, and then he thought about what he wanted to say and sent it out, running towards Ji Zhong. How much do you know about the Long family? Successful, Yan Xiangluo is very happy, all skills are useful, no, if it is not convenient to speak directly, and if you don't want others to hear, just use voice transmission. It just consumes some mental energy. Alas, she now understands that all abilities are inseparable from mental power. This also proves that only by having strong mental power can you have more powerful abilities. Ji Zhong still said through voice transmission, 9 families were all punished from the higher continent. Among them, only the Long family was punished as a whole because some people were afraid of the Long family's power to control souls. The Long family was punished. Finally, unlike other families who desperately wanted to return to the higher continent, the Long family just wanted to decipher the family secret. It is said that the secret is related to the rise and fall of the entire Long family. The longest of the 9 families that have been punished is 1,000 years, and the Long family is the shortest, which is more than 600 years. Because each family is in the lower continent, even though it is the place with the strongest spiritual energy in the lower continent, however, the bloodline talent is still weakening, and it is getting worse with each generation. Therefore, they refuse to marry with outsiders. But the Long family is different. They have been marrying outsiders for a long time, including your mother. She was also released by the Long family at the beginning, looking for talented men to get married, just to give birth to talented children. It's just that. Your mother was unwilling to return to the Long family after meeting your father, and she was even less willing to let you return to the Long family. After 10 years of tit-for-tat with the Long family, she was still captured by the Long family when you were 10 years old. Your mother suddenly disappeared and your father left to look for your mother. The Long family actually came back to look for you, but they gave up because your talent was too low. But your mother was imprisoned in the Long family for 3 years, and your father fought with the Long family for 3 years. Later, your father didn't know what method he used to rescue your mother. They broke through and left here together. What happened next? You know, that's all I found. Part of this information was told by Zhizhong from the Su family, and some of it was investigated by Chang Feng, who he had arranged for in the past 2 years. Yan Xiangluo's eyes darkened, thinking of the time the Long family used her to force her parents to show up, and asked, "Actually, that time, did you know that the person who came to me was from the Long family?" End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 216. Chapter 216. Watching the sea with her. Zhizhong said frankly, "I know, but at that time I had too much time to take care of myself. Even the Su family couldn't handle it, let alone the Long family. I don't mean to blame you. You are not mine. There is no need to do anything for me," Yan Xiangluo explained. It would be better not to explain her words, which would make Zhizhong's heart feel cold. I don't blame him because I don't regard him as one of my own, so I remain indifferent to him and don't resent him at all. His heart sank to the bottom, and he knew in his heart that it was really not easy to open her heart, let alone live in it. Zhizhong immediately changed the topic and stopped talking about unhappy topics. The power of soul control of the Long family can only be practiced by those who have inherited it by blood. Regarding the cultivation method, only the Long family knows. The reason why the Long family is called the Spirit Clan is a name brought by the higher continent. Do you want to learn how to control the soul? The soul technique can only be found at the Long family. Yan Xiangluo nodded, "I think so too. Since I have this bloodline inheritance, it is always a good thing to learn more skills. Besides, I will definitely go to the higher continent to find my parents in the future. I don't believe in the higher continent. Only the Long family can master the power of soul control, and even if they don't use it on others, they can still protect themselves." Zhizhong agrees with Yan Xiangluo's point of view. She learns skills without the purpose of hurting others. This state of mind is unmatched by others. Her heart cannot be more pure. The Long family's search for trouble must have a purpose. I think it must be related to the secret of the Long family. You can use this as a condition to benefit yourself. However, the Long family probably has no intention of dealing with you today. You can relax for a day. The Long family will come to test you tomorrow, Zhizhong reminded her. Yan Xiangluo glanced at him. Does the Su family have a big appetite? Zhizhong raised the corners of his lips mockingly. 9 families rarely have such an opportunity, how could the Su family miss it? Yan Xiangluo understood that the 9 families lived in peace and would not easily violate the rules set by the 9 families. Such an opportunity could be said to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Since there is nothing else to do today, I want to go to the beach for a walk, Yan Xiangluo said to Zhizhong. She is not a prisoner, and she will not stay in the Long family obediently. Now that she is here, she should go to the seaside to have a look. This is the only sea in the Xianxia continent, and other mainlanders have no chance to see the sea. The sea is where the 9 family members break through and leave. It's dangerous to get too close without a breakthrough, just like the abyss of the Xianxia continent, Zhizhong reminded her. Yan Xiangluo blinked. It turns out that the sea here has this function. Does it mean that the other side of the sea is the higher continent? Did my parents leave from here? Yan Xiangluo suddenly thought of a question. Are the other side of the sea and the other side of the abyss the same higher continent? If not, did she want to come here when she broke through and left, or elsewhere to find her parents? No, this is only a place where people from the 9 families who were born and raised left. Your father did not leave here. Your mother left here before Jiqian. They can only leave from the abyss, Zhizhong explained. Yan Xianluo was relieved after hearing this. Fortunately, although this was a place that the powerful people in Tianqian continent wanted to come to at all costs, she only came here this time and never wanted to come again. In fact, after arriving here, Yan Xianluo became enlightened. Although the most important condition for cultivation is aura, character, and hard work are the most important. Although the spiritual energy here is richer than outside, there are only a handful of people from the 9 families who can cultivate to the level of leaving. Although the spiritual energy outside is not strong enough, there are still some who have broken through the clan level and left. Ji Kong stood up, and so did Yan Xianluo, and the two of them walked outside together. Before they reached the door, a maid stopped them. "Miss Xianluo, where are you going?" Xianluo glanced at her and said, "Go for a walk to the beach." The maid looked at her with a troubled expression. Yan Xianluo pretended not to see her and continued to walk out. Seeing her like this, the maid stopped her again. Before she could speak, Ji Hong spoke with only one word, "Get out." The maid paused and looked at Ji Hong with some fear. She looked so good looking, but why was she so cruel to others? Yan Xianluo did not expect Ji Hong to be so direct, but she was not very happy either. "My surname is Yan, not Long, and I am not a prisoner of your Long family, understand?" The maid saw that the two people had the same look and tone, and she immediately did not dare to stop them anymore. The two of them left the yard and walked out the way they came. The maid hurriedly ran to report to the housekeeper. There is no other way. The head of the house is busy dealing with the Su family, so he can only tell the housekeeper. After hearing what she said, the housekeeper immediately said, "She can go wherever she wants, and don't stop her." After receiving the steward's words, the maid went back with peace of mind. She felt that it was too difficult to serve the person this time. After the maid left, the housekeeper immediately arranged for hidden guards to follow Ji Hong and Yan Xianluo secretly, and told them not to disturb them. The important thing was to know where they went. He felt that since Yan Xianluo came to the Long family, she must want to solve the problem and would not leave so soon. Yan Xianluo and Ji Hong left the Long family and walked directly to the sea. The Long family was only a few miles away from the seaside. The two of them rose up in the air and went directly to the seaside. Whether it is this life or another life, Yan Xianluo has no chance to see the sea. But in another life, she can see the sea from the video, but it is not as profound as going to the seaside in person. And the sea here is not an ordinary sea. Only those who have reached the imperial level can cross it. With her level of cultivation, it feels uncomfortable to get even closer. Yan Xianluo stood 10 meters away from the sea and watched. The sea breeze blew gently, which was very comfortable. The sea is boundless and there is no end in sight. Yan Xianluo asked curiously, "How do people with imperial level cultivation cross the sea to reach higher continents?" "Those who have reached the emperor level only need to rise up in the air and run towards the sea. As soon as they reach the sea, they will be sucked in by a suction force and then disappear." Ji Hong stood with his hands behind his hands and looked at the sea. He also heard what Chang Feng and Mu Zixian said. After all, they were from 9 families. Although they started following him when they were 12 or 13 years old, they had lived here for more than 10 years, so they still knew some things. Why does it feel a little unreliable? After hearing this, Yan Xianluo's big almond eyes flashed with confusion. Ji Hong smiled, "I felt the same way when I heard it for the first time." Yan Xianluo definitely had an idea running through her mind quickly, but she didn't catch it. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 217. Chapter 217 Special Trap Formation. Are there monsters and spiritual beasts in the sea? Yan Xianluo actually wanted to ask if there was any seafood to eat, but she thought that no one could get close to it, and even if there was seafood, she couldn't fish it out. Ji Hong shook his head and said, No one found that there are monsters and spiritual beasts inside. It was too close to get close, there were not even monsters inside, and there probably wasn't any seafood that she longed for. Yan Xianglou felt that she had looked at a fake sea, and immediately lost interest and turned around and walked along the seaside. Jija Kong was walking beside her, and seeing that she was not in a high mood, he pointed to the distance and said, "On that mountain over there lives the Meng family, which is famous for its swordsmanship. The Qin family and the Yu family are attached to the Su family, and the Zhang family and the Ma family is dependent on the Meng family. Only the Long family, the Fang family, and the Huang family still go their own way without any alliance." "Is the Meng family very strong?" Yan Xianglou asked curiously. She can understand that the Qin family and the Yu family are attached to the Su family. After all, the Su family is a Xuanhuan family. But it won't be called a high-level mysterious pattern. In any case, it can at least borrow some light. However, the Meng family is only a swordsman family. Why are there two other families attached to it? Nowadays, the blood inheritance of each family is getting weaker and weaker. In contrast, although the blood inheritance of swordsmanship is weakened, the Meng family has the strongest swordsmanship. You can learn it with or without blood inheritance, but those with blood inheritance are more talented. The better the swordsmanship, the better. The blood inheritance of the Zhang family and the Ma family is already very small, so choosing to rely on the Meng family and practice swordsmanship is another way, Ji Zhizhong explained. So that's it, Yan Xiang realized clearly, how many other families live there. Since she is here, and she only wants to come this time, Yan Xianglou wants to see them all. Ji Zhizhong pointed in the direction in front and said, "Every family lives on the mountain. Except for the Meng family who lives on the top of the mountain, the other families live at the bottom of the mountain. Come on, I will take you to see it." As soon as he finished speaking, Ji Zhizhong rose into the air and motioned for Yan Xianglou to follow. The two of them flew in the air and flew over the mountain where the Meng family lived. Yu Xianglou saw several mountains scattered in the distance. Even closer, they could see 6 more mountains scattered under each mountain. Family. In fact, in terms of residence, there is no big difference between the 9 families except that the Meng family lives on the mountain. The materials of the courtyard buildings are the same, the area is similar, the place is spacious, and the living area is large. Same, after thousands of years of reproduction, there are many people in that family. Royal Koji feels that 9 families are not far from the distance. In fact, if you walk with your feet, each distance is not close. After Ji Zhizhong took Yan Xianglou Yukong to take a look around, Yan Xianglou always felt that the terrain where the Zhu family lived seemed familiar. Her eyes lit up after thinking for a while, did the Zhu family choose their own place to live or was it prepared? Ji Zhikongfeng's eyes showed a faint smile, "Did you see it?" Yan Xianglou was surprised and said, "Don't everyone know that this is a trap, right?" Ji Zhidian nodded, "Every family knows that as long as this formation is broken, all families will get rid of the punishment of being demoted and can all return to the higher continent. But even if they know, they can't do it. This is the way of heaven. According to the rules, the demoted family has no rights. You must live wherever you are asked." Then why is the Meng family the only one living in the mountain? Yan Xianglou had a lot of doubts in her heart. She suddenly felt that she still knew too little. She felt that Ji Zhizhong seemed to know a lot. Ji Zhizhong knew all the questions she asked. "Since this is a trap, think about where the Meng family is and what they do," Ji Zhizhong reminded her. Hearing this, Yan Xianglou thought about it carefully and realized that the residence of the 9 families was a trap. If this trap formation were deployed anywhere on the mainland, it would not be very difficult to break it, but if it were deployed here, it would be extremely difficult to break it. Just because this trap formation uses heaven and earth as the medium, no matter how powerful you are, you can't fight with the way of heaven. Another fatal point about this trap formation is that the key formation points are suppressed by the 9 families themselves. The Meng family practices swordsmanship, and their location is the Shen Gate. There are so many strong sword energies suppressing the Shen Gate, who can break through it? The Fang family is a weapon refining family, and the Huang family is an alchemy family. Fire must be used to refine weapons and elixirs. Therefore, the Fang family and the Huang family also have the most fire-based people. The places where the Fang family and the Huang family are located are the 2 most critical points of the trap formation. With so many fires holding them down, who can break the formation? Each of the 9 families plays a suppressive role in the formation. The most important thing is that because of the demotion and punishment, people within the 9 families cannot break the formation. If you want to break the formation, you can only rely on people like Jizhong, and you people like Xianxia are half of the 9 families. There has never been a person with such super formation strength who can break through the trapping formation using heaven and earth as the medium. Yan Xianxia remembered that when she was a child, she often saw her mother learning formations from her father. Now it seems that her mother at that time still had a sense of family in her heart. After all, her mother did not have much talent for formations, but she still studied formations with her father so seriously. It is obviously to break this trap and completely liberate the tribe. But the formation is still there. There are only 2 reasons. One is that her mother's formation cultivation is not enough to break the formation, the other is that her mother does not want to break the formation for some reasons. In fact, even if his mother's formation cultivation cannot break this formation, isn't there still Dad, the master of formations? Although Dad can't break the formation, he can teach his mother how to break the formation. What on earth did the Long family do to my mother to disappoint her so much? Yan Xianxia felt a little depressed. She looked at Jizhong and asked, "Can you break this formation?" In fact, Yan Xianglia's formation skills are not low. She can break the gentleman formation. Although this trap formation is based on the rules of heaven and earth, with 9 families as the formation eyes, it is not impossible to break. For her, it just takes some time. But she felt that a monster genius like Jizhong was very good at marching formations, so it was impossible that he could not break this trap formation. What is the reason that makes Jizhong not want to break the formation and help the 9 families escape from here? Jizhong turned back to look at the residents of the 9 families and said sarcastically, "Not all families were punished because of injustice. Among the 9 families, only the Long family was calculated. Look at each family. Which family is a gentleman's family? They don't even have the most basic moral bottom line. What's the point of letting such a family go back to the higher continent and continue to harm others?" End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 218. Chapter 218 Important Places. Yan Xianglio did not expect that Jizhong did not break the formation for this reason. After all, he had been in contact with the people of the 9 families since he was 10 years old, and his understanding of the people of the 9 families was still very deep. This also reminded her of the eldest elder of the Su family, the 13th elder of the Long family, and Uge, who would do whatever it took to get to the higher continent, even practicing evil arts. This is what she knows. There are only a lot more people who don't know and are hiding in the dark. The main reason for all this is that the people who were demoted in the first place were not people of good moral character. They were unwilling to live here and would not reflect on their own mistakes. They would only solve problems in the usual way. Such people teach how can the offspring have good moral character? It does not mean that all people will not have good virtues, but most people will follow the path of their ancestors. In this case, she also gave up the idea of breaking the formation. However, it does not affect her curiosity about this trap, and it is still possible to study it. If this is the case, they should continue to stay here, so as not to harm others. There was an indescribable emotion in Yan Xianglio's tone. She feels very sorry for her mother. How she maintains her true nature in such an environment should be different from her experience when she left here when she was a teenager. Later, she met her father, and her life experiences changed her, allowing her to have her own thoughts. She could understand the thoughts of her family members from her own perspective on life, and learn to distinguish right from wrong. Perhaps my mother tried very hard to change her family's thinking, but what her family did to her made her fail and disappointed. Xuanhuan noticed that she was not in a good mood and interrupted her train of thought. Are you interested in this formation? I used to learn formations from my father. When I saw a special formation, I wanted to try it. But we just need to study it. The formations laid out by the rules of heaven still have reasons for their existence. Let's not go against the law of heaven. Xianxia shrugged. Xuanhuan smiled. Why is this girl so cute? I don't want to meddle in other people's business, but I still say it in such a high-sounding way. That makes sense. I have studied some ideas before. Please tell me what you think. Xuanhuan pulled her to the highest mountain and dropped her down. Here you can clearly see the living quarters of the 9 families. It was here that he studied this trap. Moreover, the top of this mountain is bare, so there is no way to hide anyone, and there is no need to worry about anyone eavesdropping. Xianxia didn't notice Xuanhuan pulling her, nor did he reject it. She was focused on the formation. However, the hidden guards of the Long family who followed them secretly saw their natural closeness and immediately sent the news back. The head of the Long family was busy dealing with the Su family. After receiving the news, the housekeeper of the Long family believed that they were indeed an unmarried couple, otherwise they would not be so close. The atmosphere in the main hall of the Long family was very bad, and the housekeeper did not dare to go in and report the matter at this time. He could only wait until the matter was over before telling the head of the Long family. Contrary to the atmosphere in the Long family, Xianxia and Xuanhuan were very comfortable at this time. Xianxia was talking about her thoughts on how to break the trap. Xuanhuan listened patiently. From time to time, he would share his thoughts with her, but he mainly listened to her thoughts. It was the first time in Xianxia's life that someone had talked with her so patiently, and she still had a common topic to talk to. The more she talked, the more excited she became, and her joyful mood made her already outstanding appearance even more brilliant. Xuanhuan watched infatuatedly, imprinting her happiness and joy at this moment in her heart. Sure enough, my formation talent follows my father, Xianxia said with a bright and proud smile. Well, that's true. Xuanhuan followed her words. Only then did Xianxia realize that the two of them had been sitting on the top of the mountain all morning. She turned to look at Xuanhuan, just in time to catch his gentle gaze. She was stunned. In her impression, Xuanhuan was an indifferent person with no emotions. When did he become so gentle? If Xuanhuan knew that his gentleness was just gentleness in Xianxia's eyes, I wonder if he would be even more helpless. At this moment, Xianxia saw from the corner of her eye that the door of the Long family opened, and the head of the Su family and the elders came out. The head of the Long family and several elders escorted them out. Xianxia watched the head of the Su family and the others go back to the Su family over the mountain, and said to Xuanhuan, in such a big place, with so many families living in it, what interests can they compete for? Xuanhuan also looked in the direction of the Long family. Although this place is not big, there is a very important place. Important place? Xianxia looked around. The entire residence was where they were. It could be said that she could see it all at a glance. Except for the family residence, which was just a crop field, she didn't find anything important. Xuanhuan stood up, pointed in one direction and said, "Do you think there is a separate house there?" Xianxia looked along Xuanhuan's hand and saw an independent house not far away from the residence of the 9 families. It was not big. From their perspective, it looked more like a temple. It was the same building, although it was a little far away, but she could also see people coming in and out. "Where is that place?" Yan Xianglou asked. "Such a single house does not look like it belongs to any family. That's why the aura here is so strong." Zhizhong retracted his hand and said. The fragrance fell and it became clear that there was a reason for the strong aura here. Zhizhong continued, "The reason why the spiritual energy of the 9 family residences is richer than that of the mainland outside is because there is a well in that house, and pure spiritual energy is constantly flowing out of it. Not only does the spiritual energy here remain so rich, it also affects the spiritual energy in Huanghai Forest. In fact, the spiritual energy disperses outward from there, and the farther away it is, the less intense the spiritual energy is. This is why the closer to the residence of the 9 families in Huanghai Forest, the more intense the spiritual energy is." Hearing this, Yan Xianglou let go of her spiritual consciousness and sensed it. Sure enough, the aura of the residence of the 9 families became stronger the closer it got to that house. "So that's the best place for cultivation for the 9 families," Yan Xianglou said clearly. "Yes, but the house is too small to accommodate all 9 families to practice, not even one family. Therefore, according to the rules, one family will practice for 3 months, and any family will practice for 3 months. Each family guards it closely and does not allow people from other families to get close." Zhizhong looked at that house. He had never been there before. Leave aside whether he would be there when it was the Su family's turn. Even if he was there, he had no intention of going. Although it was important to absorb spiritual power and practice, talent and experience were more important. So, the Su family wants the Long family's next training time. Yan Xianglou immediately understood why the Su family and the Long family had been talking all morning. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 219. Chapter 219. So old. "I want more than just once," Zhizhong said, "otherwise the conversation would not have lasted so long. The Long family is not that easy to talk to. Both families argue with each other, and it depends on who is more talkative. However, based on his understanding of the Su family leader, he has the initiative this time. He will never give up this opportunity to benefit the family. He will at least require the Long family to practice 3 times, which is 9 months, nearly a month. Years. The training time of the Long family is always next to that of the Su family. The training time of the 2 families is 6 months together. 3 consecutive 6 months. If the cultivation reaches a critical moment, in that room after practicing for 6 months, you can know the effect without even thinking about it. What's more, it's still 3 to 6 months. For the 9 families, this is already a great benefit." Yan Xianglou shrugged. With such good cultivation conditions, why are there so few people from the 9 families going to the higher continent? In her opinion, with such training conditions, no matter how bad your talent is, you will be made strong by the spiritual energy. What's more, the 9 families also have special blood inheritance, so you can't be worse than the poor talent people from the lower continent outside. Zhizhong explained to her, "They have been punished by heaven, and the conditions for ascension are different from those of mainlanders outside. People from the 9 families can only ascend and leave after breaking through the emperor level. After their cultivation reaches the clan level, it is very difficult to advance. Compared with the outsiders, it is many times more difficult for people in lower continents to advance to the human level." Yan Xianglou couldn't figure it out. In this case, why not let the descendants leave here and go out to live and practice as lower-class mainlanders and leave? Then why don't they leave here and live? Yan Xianglou asked doubtfully. Zhizhong shook his head and said, "Firstly, after they go back in this way, the family in the higher mainland will not recognize their identity. Secondly, they feel that they are superior and disdain to marry with lower-level mainlanders. The only exception is the Long family, but not all descendants are allowed to go out, only those with particularly good talents will be let out, just like your mother. Yu Xianglue was speechless. He has been punished for nearly 1,000 years. What does it matter whether my family accepts it or not after he returns? At this time, she didn't know how important it was to have family protection or not after going to the higher continent. Mainly because she has never relied on family protection. Even if she thought about it, the entire Long family was punished, and there was no family in the higher continent that could protect her. How many descendants of the Long family are outside? Yan Xianglue also understood why other families in the Long family thought differently. Only when the whole family returned could they rely on each other. But although they had the right idea, they used it in the wrong way. Not many, one per generation, Ji Zhong said. Just one person. Yan Xianglue was surprised. She thought that the Long family was so open-minded that there would be many descendants outside, but only one person from each generation would go out. Well, the person who goes out is the most talented one. Ji Zhong understood the reason why the Long family did this. They just wanted to obtain people with stronger bloodline to decipher the secrets of the Long family, but they did not want to lose the power to control their descendants. My mother has gone to the higher continent. Who is the next generation of the Long family? Yan Xianglue didn't understand the brain circuits of the 9 family members. It hasn't been chosen yet. Ji Zhong shook his head. Yan Xianglue narrowed her eyes. Now she even more suspected that the secret of the Long family was related to opening the box, and the reason why the next generation of the Long family did not go out was because they had their thoughts set on themselves. Yan Xianglue has no doubts about her idea now. After all, the letter left by her father specifically told her not to open the box. Thinking of the hidden compartment on the bed in the room, she was sure that her mother must have left something for her. But that was the Long family, and all her actions were under their surveillance. She could only wait until she went to bed at night to see if there was anything in the secret room. Suddenly she had no interest in wandering around anymore. Yan Xianglue stood up and said to Ji Zhong, "Let's go back, otherwise the Long family will send someone out to invite us." Ji Zhong also stood up and stood side by side with her. "I don't need to be afraid of any of them as long as I am here." Yan Xianglue looked at him with strange eyes. Ji Zhong was a little confused. She lowered her head and looked at herself. She was so handsome, and there was nothing wrong with him. Why did she look at him like this? "What's wrong?" Ji Zhong asked. Yan Xiang frowned and said, "What you said just now, your expression and tone are very similar to my father." Ji Zhong's words suddenly reminded Yan Xianglue that her father had always told her this before. As long as her father is here, she doesn't have to be afraid of anyone. Ji Zhong's face turned dark after hearing her words. "Am I that old?" Although he is indeed a few years older than Yan Xianglue, he is not too different, at least not to the same generation as her father. If you go to a higher continent, the lifespan of monks is very long. The age difference between husband and wife is normal, let alone a few years. Some even have a difference of 100 or 200 years. Does she think she is old? Yan Xianglue saw Ji Zhong's unhappy expression and said quickly, "I'm not saying you're old, I just think you care about me as much as my father." Ji Zhong looked much better after hearing her explanation. But Yan Xianglue's expression was even more strange. She suddenly felt that Ji Zhong really cared about her. "Although I detoxified him, I also got benefits from him. It was just a fair transaction. There was no need for him to be so kind to himself, right?" Although Yan Xianglue wanted to ask Ji Zhong the reason, she thought of his not-so-good expression just now and swallowed the words that came to her lips. People have helped her so much, she can't be ignorant. Ji Zhong was afraid that she would say something scary again, so he quickly said, "Don't you want to go back?" Yan Xianglego immediately nodded and took off into the air, flying towards Long's house. Jiju's heart dropped to his stomach and he followed behind. She made a plan in her heart to protect her face. She cannot change it if she is older than her. However, this face is still good looking, so she must keep this capital. So that after he became a truly strong man, everyone knew that he cared about his face. When the two returned to the door of Long's house, the people sent by the head of Long's house to invite them back just went out. Seeing that the two of them were back, they were obviously relieved and quickly invited them in. Back to the yard prepared for Yan Xianglego, the head of the Long family was also there. It can be seen that the face of the head of the Long family is not very good, but after seeing Yan Xiang, he immediately put on an amiable smile and said, "Xianglego is back." It can be seen that in the negotiation with the Su family, the Long family lost interests and made him very uncomfortable. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 220. Chapter 220 Give you half. Yan Xianglego nodded, "Master Long, are you done?" The head of the Long family laughed and said, "There is nothing to do anymore. Today is the first time Xianglego has come back. I have prepared a banquet for you. The banquet will be held in the Beiwa Hall. I asked someone to come over and invite you over. Only then did I know that you had gone out. Where did you go to play?" Yan Xianglego felt that the head of the Long family was extremely hypocritical. He was obviously in a bad mood and didn't treat her well, but he could still pretend to be such an amiable elder. "Let's go to the beach for a walk. The place here is too small and there's really nothing interesting to do." Yan Xianglego naturally said something disgusting. No one from the lower mainland outside would want to come to their place. Yan Xianglego said this. The head of the Long family thought she did it on purpose. This was a clear way to tell him that she disliked them. The head of the Long family doesn't believe that Yan Xianglego doesn't like this place at all, but he also doesn't believe that Yan Xianglego likes this place very much. From the first time he saw it until now, he had never seen the slightest yearning or curiosity about this place in Yan Xianglego's eyes. But he didn't believe she didn't like the rich spiritual energy and excellent cultivation environment here. "The banquet is ready, let's go over." The head of the Long family decisively ended this obviously unpleasant topic. Yan Xianglego didn't refuse. She wanted to see who from the Long family would be at the banquet. Turning to Jijuzhong, he said, "Let's go see if the food at Long's house is as delicious as yours." Jijuzhong gave a rare smile, "Not everyone has the rice and vegetables used in my meals. Even the Su family can't eat it, let alone the Long family." Yan Xianglego glanced at him and felt a little confused. Didn't the Su family grow the rice and vegetables he had there themselves? She thought it was because the spiritual energy here was particularly strong, so the spiritual rice and spiritual vegetables grown had purer and richer spiritual energy, making them more delicious. Now listening to Jijuzhong's meaning, it seems that this is not the case. The head of the Long family was here, so she didn't ask any more questions. The two of them followed the head of the Long family and walked to the Beiwa Hall. The Beiwa Hall is actually the place where the Long family gathers every New Year. It is very large and spacious, and is surrounded by various flowers. It is the season of blooming, which makes the name Beiwa Hall worthy of its name. Along the way, Yan Xianglego could see that although the head of the Long family did not take special care of Jijuzhong, he had obviously been observing Jijuzhong's expression. It must have been during the negotiations with the Su family that they learned that the eldest elder of the Su family had been defeated by Jijuzhong, and felt a little afraid of him. The 13 elders of the Long family were defeated by Jijuzhong. The head of the Long family would not be afraid of him yet, but the elder of the Su family, one of the 4 8th-level cultivation powerhouses among the 9 families, was defeated by him. It's impossible not to be afraid. I was also wondering in my heart. Although Jijuzhong was at the peak of the 9th-level cultivation level, The great elder of the Su family was at the 8th level of the zone level cultivation. How did he defeat the great elder? It is obvious that Xuanhuan is really capable of allowing the Su family leader to be so humble. I originally thought that even if Xuanhuan supported Yan Xiangluo, he would not be afraid of him, a person with a high level of cultivation. However, the negotiation with the Su family leader after it was over, the head of the Long family didn't think so anymore. He has already discussed with the elders of the Long family that he must not treat Yuan Xiangluo the way he treated his mother. It would be best if the problem could be solved amicably. Back then, Long Moran had the support of concubine Xianxia, and now concubine Xiangluo has the support of Xuanhuan, who made them even more afraid. They couldn't afford to offend him. After all, they know very well that the Long family is now a strong force on the outside and can no longer withstand any storms. Yan Xiangluo knew their plan when the head of the Long family appeared in her yard. After all, he is the head of the family. Whether it is for Xuanhuan's sake or not, he sincerely wants to solve the problem with him in a peaceful way. Being able to condescend to him already shows his attitude. If the problem can be solved peacefully, Yan Xiangluo naturally does not want to have a quarrel with them. When we came to Beiwa Hall, there were not many people inside. In addition to a few elders of the Long family whom we had seen before, there were also two old men, a man and a woman. When he saw them coming in, his eyes kept falling on Yan Xiangluo. Yan Xiangluo just glanced at them naturally and then looked away, but she could still see the changes in their expressions from the corner of her eye and clearly sensed the complex emotions in their eyes. Perhaps because of the presence of Xuanhuan, a powerful person they feared, the two of them were placed next to the head of the Long family. This action further showed the attitude of the Long family towards her. Xuanhuan sent a message to her, "The first elder of the Long family is not here." Among the 9 families, if the first elder does not attend, it means a different meaning. If it is a banquet for other family heads, if the first elder does not show up, it will not give them face. But in your situation, the great elder's absence means that he will not use his strength to suppress you. Yan Xiangluo understood that the Long family was using actions to show that they only wanted to solve the problem and did not want to use force with her. They have a good attitude, and I am not an unreasonable person. No matter what disputes they have with my parents have been merciful. As long as they don't go too far, I won't do anything. After settling the matter here, I won't come again. It's best if we can live in peace. Yan Xiangluo also told Xuanhuan clearly her thoughts. We are somewhat connected by fate, but you are luckier than me. At least your mother is still alive, and your family will be reunited in the future. Although Xuanhuan used voice transmission, Yan Xiangluo could also feel his low mood. Thinking about his identity and situation, what he has lacked most since he was a child is family affection. It is what every child expects, but he has never had it. Although the late emperor of the Tianshan Empire loved him very much, how much love would the emperor's father have if he was born into the royal family? What's more, the late emperor of the Tianshan Empire was gone when he was 6 years old. His survival depends on his wisdom and intelligence, coupled with his super talent. Now Yan Xiangluo somewhat understands why Xuanhuan is always so cold. Growing up in such an environment, if you can still develop a cheerful and optimistic character, you would have to be so heartless. When you find my parents, I can share half of their love with you. Yan Xiangluo suddenly softened her heart, thinking that Xuanhuan accompanied her to Long's house for her, and they could still make friends. Okay, it's a deal. Xuanhuan didn't expect such a surprise. If he had known that suffering a misfortune would make her soften her heart, he would have used this trick a long time ago. He knows that Yan Xiangluo only regards him as a friend in his heart, but even if he knows, he will be very happy. After all, she has been upgraded to the level of a friend in her heart, and getting closer is not out of reach. End of this chapter.